Today we sit down with Henri Lamy, a French contemporary painter who has found love and a new home in the Philippines. We'll explore his artistic journey, his vibrant fusion of cultures, and how his work bridges two worlds. Stay with us for an inspiring hour of art, passion, and life across continents. Henry, for those who are discovering you for the first time, how would you want to describe yourself as an artist?
Well, in short, I'm a painter born and raised in France, Lyon. And I was brought to this art by my dad at the age of 4, maybe. I kept on drawing for my whole childhood, including sa school, sa holidays, whatever, until the age of maybe 12, where my dad also introduced me to painting. And I've kept on exploring that passion and practicing every day until I finished my studies, not in arts, to be seduced by the world of alternative art. So in France, maybe also in the Philippines, but fewer, I guess. There's a bunch of self-made artist-run spaces, some of them even illegal. And this is what I fostered my practice in the earlier years of my work.
Can you take us back in your early life in France and what kind of an environment did you have to grow up in?
What I can reveal about my childhood that influenced my art, there are a number of factors, but two pop up to my mind right now is how I got to dive in capoeira, which first was acrobatics. It dates back to my grandfather's death, where I saw him for months being in this medicalized chair in our family house. And it was so hard for me to absorb the shock of seeing him health diminish that I had to go in the garden and watching the floor, the grass, where I was actually trying to translate that hard emotions into heart motions. So meaning that's when I got to learn how to walk on my hands, doing handstands and acrobatics.
And how young were you then?
5, something like that.
You had an early start. I thought I already had an early start with martial arts. I must have been at least 9 or 10, but you're much, much younger. Interesting.
Yeah, and also so that's for the physical side. The drawing practice came around the same time also, and it was very much linked to my presence amongst others, where like I guess most artists would feel more easy to deal with the outside world behind that paper. So there's actually one of the artworks at the show that you've been visiting yesterday that features my son at his school today in Aninuan in Puerto Galera, where they can observe all the greetings at the end of a class session. All of the kids being chanting and saying thank you, teacher, for today's class and etc. But they speak Tagalog, and lumaki siya sa probinsya bago siya dumating sa Pilipinas. So it's harder for him to express himself. So he's just watching me with a face that's so like that.
Who's this again? Your
My son.
your
So I
son.
kind of use that vision to also translate how I used to feel when I was a kid in school, not being able to fit with the rest of the classmates. I always found it hard.
Interesting because I had a chance to uh, do a little a slight interview to two of your French guests yesterday in your exhibit last night, and one of the gentlemen, French gentlemen, uh, that captured his attention. You're painting about a boy in a schoolyard, and but to him, his impression was the emotion that he gathered from that painting was that made an impact. It was a very joyful, vibrant, happy, the colors and everything, and perhaps the sense of motion of the kid. So for him, it was a very happy, and he related to his own
Do you know why?
childhood during that time, no? So I was curious now because you're telling me that you had a bit of a difficulty trying to immerse yourself with the rest of the kids in your school. But if that is any related to your painting, to him it was a good memory of his good childhood background in school.
Kasi iba-iba ang pintura yan. This is, the one I'm talking about is when he's in school. The one you interviewed this guy about is when he's out of school.
Ah, okay. Oh,
So class is finished, he's happy to go out.
interesting. Interesting. All
He's
right.
actually running towards me, saying, Papa!
Ah, so that's your son.
Yeah, it's also my son.
That's also your son. It's like the one in the beach. You have a painting in the beach. They also the lady with him, the other French, that was with him. They have a very good memory of you, also in that beach, according to them, that they
Yeah.
experienced being with you.
Yeah, that's actually where we met. We go there almost every day. That's one of the reasons why we chose to stay in Mindoro.
So is that one of the ways that you have to to get inspired when you start to create a new piece?
Yeah, they're very often related to significant life moments. And sometimes those significant life moments could just be regular times that don't necessarily mean much for someone who wouldn't get it his attention to it. You know what I mean? So it's just daily life scenes seems insignificant, but actually has a lot of meaning, a lot of sense, because that's when we're the most natural. Um, I discovered Puerto Galera 15 years ago with my in-laws, the Dabuville, who back then not only had this amazing property that surrounds the the bay, and but also organized still up to now, still up to this year actually, the Malasimbo Music and Art Festival. So these were incredible moments for me that we both try to join Mindoro's endemic culture, the Manyans, who would feature their dances, their sulat system, their artifacts, the way they build their bahay kubos also. So from the beginning, I've also discovered a number of places here in the Philippines, but this really the place that caught my heart. That's the first time that I actually phrased that paradise on earth. It's first, like I knew this word, but that's the first time I could put an image to it.
Mm, interesting.
Yeah,
That was the inspiration.
yeah,
That place.
yeah, so much.
Wow.
Because it offers a natural diversity in the species in fauna and flora, but also during that festival was a fantastic gathering of so many different type of people.
When does the festival happen? I mean, I haven't even experienced that. I'm not even as familiar.
Yeah.
It's now I'm quite curious and interested to go there, and be there in the festival, to experience what you're saying.
So unfortunately, it might have been the last year they did it, and the past editions were in Manila, but the 10 first were always in their backyard. But that's like a 30 hectares property in Mindoro, so there's room enough.
So it's their family that instigates this
Yeah,
whole
that's
festival.
my
Wow.
brother-in-law. Miro Gergich. So he's married to my wife's sister, Olivia de Bouville. Olivia also textile sculptor artist.
But you're saying they have it here as well.
The past editions, I think the past 2 years, they organized it here in Manila. So last month was in Intramuros. They brought Julian Marley, son of Bob Marley. So it was also an occasion for me to have a number of collaborations with the artists that came by. I've had another. So Julian came because his brother gave him such a good insight about his coming to Malasimbo, maybe 2018, something like that. And I was one of the people who host him, took him from the airport and bringing him to the stage to rehearse, but also gave him a private painting lesson in my studio there. I used to create in a bamboo house for many years, also facing the view of the bay. I met with Jimmy Cliff, Joss Stone, a number of artists that also brought interesting aspects on how to live with your art and communicate with others too.
Wow, you are an artist through and through.
Yeah.
Was art always a part of your life, and was there a certain influence early on that shaped you wanting to become an artist, for instance?
So aside from my dad and granddad who actually put the paintbrush and lapis in my hands, there there were other influences. For example, I remember, so I grew up in Lyon, France, and I had one of my first shows back in 2008, I believe, at a gallery there that had also a number of exchanges with Chinese painters. So I always wanted to travel until I got 20. It wasn't really possible because my family wasn't that much into it. But once I finally started to expand from the family nest, I went to China, and I remember being very much impressed with how workaholic they are. And it was interesting. I was invited in a former garage of the Chinese army. So I would train with the militaries in the morning, kung fu. And I would also exchange a lot with my fellow artists in the residency. I like to, of course, it's always good to keep in mind what you like to work on and develop, but it has to be done in accordance with the energy that surrounds you. So in that case precisely, I remember that I wasn't mixing capoeira and painting at that time, but only the gallery owner was suggesting that I could accompany my show, the opening of the show, with a capoeira um, demo, which at that time didn't feel right because I would not see the link between the two practices. But I still went along. It's only further in time that hanging out a lot with my Brazilian mestre of capoeira, we became close friends. And so every day, he was also joining me in my art studio. And I would practice with him and his friends and family in the park of the Tuileries next to the Louvre. So my studio was nearby also. He was like, these are two sources of expression, so you should definitely try to put them together. So I had an eye growing up for every piece of art that could be around me. And Impressionism, the work of Palette Knife also was very inspiring to me. I think that's one of the first movements that I discovered and caught my attention.
Did you ever take any formal lessons, workshops?
Not so much. The closest I got was when I moved to Paris. Interestingly enough, for a Filipino girl at that time too. And I was looking for an excuse so that my parents would let me keep on studying and finance it, of course. So I found myself a product design school where I enrolled for 4 years. Didn't get the diploma actually, but
In fine arts or something?
it was product design. So we would, for example, draw your computer or a pair of shoes. I also worked during an internship producing designs for glasses. I even worked with a brand of climbing company. Um, so I would have a formal class on how draw those objects in 3D and formalize plans that would later on be given to factories. And there's this guy, the only advice that I actually remembered from that school is that one of the teachers used to say, there's no talent, there's only practice. And I kind of agreed to it because I think we're all born with the same gift of potentially being an artist, but you just have to cultivate it.
Right, right. Interesting. So, Henry, tell me, how did your artistic journey begin, especially professionally? And can you also mention the early struggles and challenges that you had as a young artist?
So, as I said earlier, unfortunately didn't get my diploma, which I think I deserved, by the way. But at that time, every day I'm passing by this big building where there's a number, 30, I guess, artists residing there. And it used to be an art squat, meaning an abandoned bank in which struggling artists broke into and made it open to public. Further on, there's mayor's elections at that time. The the mayor who's from the left part wanted to show that he's pro culture and especially things that come from the street. So
Was this in Lyon or Paris?
it was in Paris, in the center of the city,
Okay.
close to the Louvre actually.
Okay, wow.
And can you imagine that these guys, and I later on got part of it, got so lucky that they inherited this 6-story building in the center of the one of the most cultural cities in the world for free. So after failing my diploma, I just applied to be part of it, and I had a 6-month residency there, where I had the opportunity to uh, showcase my work to thousands of individuals from all around the world because Paris being such a touristy place and the building open every day of the week. So it was a fantastic way for me to start and foster new encounters, first sales, and also first trip to Japan because a number of Japanese artists were part of that residency also. I was invited to Yokohama, Akarenga, to showcase my work, and it stirred my passion for traveling and culture discoveries. So after Japan, I went to China, Vietnam, Thailand, America, and I kept on rolling like that. Basically, staying a number of weeks or a month each place, try to capture my personal vision of the place and the reality that I was experiencing there. And sometimes I was invited, so I would have a show. Sometimes I just went on my own and did a series by myself that would later on maybe manage to find a place to show or not. But most of these places actually had exhibitions too.
And what kind of medium are you? I mean, like, it seems like, from my understanding, it's a bit of a fusion of things,
Yeah.
mixed media or something. But what's your favorite, or where did you start? What medium were
So
you at?
I started, of course, the field of media that I was exploring at that time was a bit more narrow. It basically consisted in close-up palette knife portraits with acrylic. That's what I was doing the most, and that's my base. Was also a very commercial way to sell my works. I was not only following my guts, but trends too, because I remember my dad telling me he's an entrepreneur. So he said when
The practical side of things as well,
exactly,
the business side.
if you want to be an artist, okay, I'll let you do it, but you have to make money. And so from the beginning, I was really eager to find a way that both satisfies me in the practice, but also sellable. So I found out that these portraits, close-up portraits, were a good compromise to what he was advising to me. A worldwide renowned photographer. His name is Richard Calvar. He used to be director of Magnum. Yeah, and most of them are photojournalists, but not all of them. It's basically the photography agency like number one in the world.
Wow, wow, wow. This
So
much to
they
learn
gather
from you.
super they gather super talented photographers. And this guy, Philip Calvar, Richard Calvar,
Is this French?
he's American, but married to a French woman and lives in l'Île de Ré, which is on the Pacific coast of Atlantic coast, sorry, of France, where my parents have a house. And his style is incredible. It's always,
And he teaches. He has workshops.
I'm not sure. I should ask him that. But if you're interested, I could put you guys in touch. Um, but what he like his style is on the spot. So he will notice this pedestrian foot next to that pigeon wing, and he'll shoot it.
Wow, more of photojournalism type,
Yeah,
street photography, and
street photography,
amazing.
really nice. Like I was able to watch his catalog last summer. It was incredible, and he's already have a 50 or 60-year-old career because he's now in his 70s or 80s even. So
Wow,
very,
that's somebody to meet
yeah, yeah,
if
yeah,
I have the chance to. Yeah,
very intense. He might join this photo fair if
I
it's
wouldn't
one
be
of the most
surprised because it's bicentennial, 200 years of celebration for photography. So it's going to be a very
Paris Photo Art Fair.
yeah. It's supposed to be the biggest art fair for photography, Paris Photo. It's
Paris
going to
Photo.
be in Grand Palais.
Yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
nice. Yeah, I lived 10 years in Paris.
Wow, it's always been. The last time I was there, I was there 3 years ago, and I had a chance to take while well, towards the sunrise in Louvre, so there's no people. I was with Buzz, Bazz. He's a fashion designer in Paris.
Yeah,
So quite expensive wardrobe, for women. Very colorful. And I brought in a model from Switzerland, but she's Ukraine, and we saw each other there. And we shot the products of Buzz.
yeah.
She brought her clothes and with the husband, and I brought Anne Ong jewelry from Philippines to there to shoot in the Louvre.
Nice.
So those two brands, 3 years ago. Man, I got to go back there. That was summer though. That was pretty hot. And then we went to Greece, so it was like even hotter.
Yeah.
I went to 50 degrees centigrade. It was 45 in Paris. I go to Greece at 50. But anyway, Henry, can you walk us through your creative process when you start a new piece? Does it come from your emotions or a certain concept or technique? How do you go about it?
So my creative process doesn't. I mean, I'm lucky that cell phones exist because wherever I go, I always, like everyone, have my cell phone, and I very often get surprised by a view of people in action or landscape, but more often maybe human faces. Yeah, and I would have all those photos stored in my phone, and when I reach the studio, I'll decide, depending on the series I'm working on or also the commissions I have, decide to dive a bit further into it. And the past 10 to 15 years, what I tried is to basically hop from a type of representation to another, exploring different technique that apply to my life. For example, when I was in product design school, I would experiment on assisted design softwares like Photoshops and Illustrator. So there's a part in the series that I made where I would reproduce this process by physically cutting and sewing together different pieces of canvases. This came, for example, from seeing stacks of canvases in my studio and be like, oh, it's actually interesting that you don't necessarily need to see the whole picture, but this one associated with that one. And so contrast kind of led my process where, I mean, contrast is a very important component of artistic representation. For example, there's a path that the artist wants to lead your sight to.
Lead in lines, for instance.
Yes, you will not focus the same as you will on a blink of an eye or a smile as you would on a foot, for example. So these things, and I've tried to enhance that with cutting and even the fragmentation that I later came on with was to emphasize the double rhythm life between France and the Philippines. So I would juxtapose those two different realities because they're part of my life. So the artistic process tries to gather all of that. And now that I'm growing older and getting even mature for the first time of my life because I'm having kids, I'm also trying to select what I really want to emphasize amongst all those different discoveries because I didn't refrain myself. I really got super free in the process and what I wanted to experiment. But after 10 to 15 years, some of them are not relevant anymore. So you have to select. So that's also the process I'm into right now. Just trying to find the most um, impactful and representative of what I feel about life.
So if I understand it right, Henry, you were also talking about that technology sort of also help you and aids you also in these new techniques and processes that you're doing.
Yeah, anything that I have at hand. I used video projectors to perfect my outlines and proportions. I did hundreds of portraits with that because it was actually part of my learning. And then after, I don't need it anymore. I did a number of collage and compositions with Photoshop. Um, and then I tried to also put my hands on whatever material was available, spray cans, pencils, acrylic, oil, charcoal. It's still, as long as it brings a contrast, and also accidents. Accidents is very important to me because um, I had many accidents throughout my life. It comes with risk taking. The fatherly vision of entrepreneurship, my own thirst for different experiences. So I broke my jaw a couple of times and collarbones, uh, knees, through fights, uh, Great Wall of China, climbing into the abandoned parts where stone got loose. And I had,
And again, to just to expound on it further, you mean to say these experiences you have in life is also used. You're using it also to express your art.
yeah, yeah. And I'm also saying that I dare to take risks in my art. I'm not, even though I have the vision of what could appeal to public audiences, I still want to keep my own personality. So I'm still, of course, even though the family dimension kind of um, controls it a bit more, but I have that base where I'm ready to experiment many different life experiences that will later translate into art practices.
Interesting. That sense of openness and resilience to new ideas and how you relate it to your to what you're going through in the chapter in your life.
You know, earlier you're actually talking about this shoot that you had in Paris. I'm about. It's so funny. At 40 years old, I'm about to do a catwalk for a fashion designer in the Philippines.
Well, you easily pass for a model, bro.
I don't know. I'm smaller than a regular model, actually.
Still, you are Mr. Henri Lamy.